to get paid. We're talking to the Department of Labor.
A high school prom at the Fox Theater. Canceled. Question now, where are the refunds? On Better Call Harry, that story's coming up.
A father of 4 loses his life to the novel coronavirus, how his family is remembering him.
But first, breaking news at 4 o'clock and 5.2 million. That's how many more Americans filed for unemployment just over the last week. It comes as much of the world remains shut down to stop the spread of the deadly coronavirus. Glad you're with us on this Thursday afternoon. I'm Rick Fulbaum. My co-anchor Sean Gables joins us from her remote location at home as we do our part to stop the spread by practicing social distancing. Good afternoon, Sean.
Rick, good afternoon. Today, there is no end in sight for the unemployment crisis. That's because the deadly virus is still rapidly spreading through communities. Let's get right to the brand new numbers today on the outbreak here in Georgia. Today, health officials reporting 15.6 thousand cases. 3,100 of those sick ended up in the hospital. Nearly 600 have died. Experts say Georgia still has not reached its peak. That's not estimated to happen for another week and a half. And each week, millions more of Americans losing their jobs because of the coronavirus crisis. Today, we got the latest look at those record-breaking numbers. You can see unemployment claims have exploded over the last 4 weeks with a total of 22 million filed since the pandemic started shutting down businesses in the U.S. Many laid-off workers are describing the process of filing for unemployment benefits a nightmare. Michael George reports.
The timing couldn't have been worse. Bree Roche-Lilliot and her fiance both lost their jobs right as they were planning their wedding.
I received a kind of very formal letter from HR saying that all employees were being furloughed for the time being.
Similar emails have hit a staggering number of inboxes. Another 5.2 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week. That brings the total number of jobs lost in 4 weeks to approximately 22 million. When Bree tried to file, she found the New York website overloaded.
I spent probably about 3 hours just trying to apply online. And as many people have said, the system would just time you out if you didn't get through it.
Even after she filed, Bree was told she had to confirm her application by phone.
We are experiencing high call volumes at this time.
She's been calling and calling.
How many times do you think you've tried to call the unemployment office?
It would have to be in the 500 to 600 range, at least.
Americans across the country are reporting similar filing problems. Some states are overhauling their websites.
We're working with Google to come up with an online mechanism that bypasses any phone certification.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says 300 additional staffers have been hired to process claims.
It's just so demoralizing that I would just give up for the rest of the day. I mean, it feels like running in a hamster wheel. Like feels to be no sign of progress.
Many states are promising benefits will be retroactive for people who can't get through. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Here at home, the Georgia Department of Labor is also releasing grim new numbers showing that more than 700,000 Georgians are out of work in just the last 2 weeks. CBS 46's Haley Mason just talked to the labor commissioner. She's live in Buckhead with new information on unemployment. Haley.
Good afternoon, Rick. I just got out of a virtual press conference with the Georgia Department of Labor where we had to take the good news with the bad. I'll start with the good news. Those $600 unemployment payments from the federal government, where the state is finally issuing those starting this week, those payments are on their way. The bad news is unemployment numbers are skyrocketing in Georgia, well past the worst days of the 2008 recession. The state labor department has processed claims for 10% of Georgia's population, and they haven't even reached the peak unemployment yet. Last week, the Georgia DOL processed more than 319,000 claims. That's more than 700,000 in the last 2 weeks. But good news, as of this week, unemployment applications are open for nearly every type of worker. But for self-employed workers, you all will still be getting emails next week to submit additional information to begin getting unemployment pay. This is a work in progress. It takes longer to verify wages for contract workers and the self-employed, and the state tells me they've already seen people committing unemployment fraud.
We even had one person that reported to us that somebody had filed a claim in his name with his Social Security number, and he was actually currently still working. So we have to be very careful to make sure that the people who are supposed to be getting the benefits are getting those.
And coming up next hour, we talk to workers in Atlanta who are just hanging on by threads. We also talk about a new notice that self-employed workers need to look out for in this next week. But for now, reporting live in Buckhead, Haley Mason, CBS 46 News.
Thank you, Haley. Some bad news for small businesses impacted by the coronavirus.